landing page. It is available for you at your school, at the library. You can access it on site and also remotely. Let me first, before I jump into the various research systems and tell you about what Passport is, what it does, let me first let you know a bit about Euromonitor, who we are. So Euromonitor International is a global market research company, and we have been around for 50 years, since 1972. We've last year celebrated our 50th anniversary, and we've ever since researched economies, industries, consumers, channels, and also for a very long time, sustainability. What's really important to highlight is that we have more than 1,200 research analysts on the ground locally in 100 countries. We have analysts in Switzerland, in the US, in Chile, in Cambodia, Argentina, China, India, and they are locals. They speak the language and they have the closest proximity to the best sources in the market. And please excuse my scratchy voice. And what they do locally is they conduct desk research both in local language as well as in English language. They conduct store checks to look at product placement, price, promotions, and many other aspects. And then they also conduct trade interviews with the whole supply chain. So they look at many different ways of research methods, but this is all done the same way in each country so that all the data that we then publish in Passport is cross-comparable. So Passport is Euromonitor's main product that we offer, and it's used across companies globally, all the major consumer companies within Switzerland, investment banks, consultancies that you can think of. They would rely on Passport for all types of different projects, and those are projects that you can use Passport at your school. You can use it in all kinds of different programs, from entrepreneurship, business, marketing, economics, to understand, for example, which markets to enter with a specific product, to understand consumer preferences, changes in the consumer landscape, but also analyze the macro environment in depth. There are so many projects that you can use Passport for, because also the data is all up to date and it's real world data used by companies globally. So it gives students already the chance to work with this type of data that they might come across again when they move on in their professional career and become maybe a marketing manager, a strategy manager, a supply chain manager at a company in Switzerland or abroad. Now, let me walk you through the major research areas first in Passport, and then I will walk you through a specific case study so you can see what the data looks like and how to best search. In your Passport subscription at your school, you have access to 26 different industries. These are consumer industries, so we focus on B2C, and you can access a total of 25 countries for these sectors. And these are countries globally, not just focused on Europe, but that's also the US, for example, or China, India. So you can cross-compare between those different industries and different countries. There are sectors ranging from appliances and electronics, such as computer sector you could focus on, or mobile phones, to food and nutrition sectors like dairy products, including plant-based products, for example, but also snacks, which would cover the chocolate confectionery industry, over to apparel and footwear, personal accessories, and services is another major area in which you can analyze the tourism sector within travel. Also, hotels would be covered and airlines, but also consumer finance and food service like restaurants or bars. Now, the major data and analysis that is covered for industries, it's focusing on market size. So how much is being consumed of these products in a specific country, but also looking at the major companies, so company shares, brand shares, as well as retail channels. Where do people purchase these products? If I go into a specific industry homepage, you will see that these are structured all the same in the sense that you can retrieve different data types per sector. You can explore analysis on the one hand, where you can choose a specific analysis type, like a country report or a local company profile, for example, and then select a specific industry category, like in this case, snacks or chocolate confectionery or ice cream, and then choose a geography to get your country report, for example. But you can also directly jump into statistics. So that would give you the time series of consumption. So in retail value sales, for example, but we'll dive into the details later on. But what this homepage for a specific industry is useful for is you can always check also the latest reports that we've published. And every week or every day, new content is being published and it's all up to date. So we can see on the 16th of October, we've published various different reports within the snacks industry, for example, for India, various different ones. And you can dive into view all reports to see all the latest published reports sorted by date. But there are also various visualization tools like a price tracker, a forecast model, and a snacks overview showing you all the countries we cover globally for the snacks industry and the countries you can dive into in your subscription that's available at your school. So this is the industry section, and I will later dive into specific content for you as well. Now, there's also a major macroeconomic pillar, which is called economies. And within economies, you find thousands of indicators on business dynamics, economy, finance, and trade, commodities. So here we cover macroeconomic indicators like inflation, real GDP growth, or business dynamic looks at the labor market, all the major indicators on corruption, on Gini index, and you always get the statistics as well as country reports where you learn about the story behind the data, what trends are we seeing in different countries. And you see the pages, if I jump into economy, finance, and trade, the page is structured the same. You get analysis, you get statistics and latest report section. And in this case, you would find various pest analyses. And we've just published on the 3rd of October our latest Switzerland pest analysis, but there are many other reports available as well. And again, any related visualization tools like a macro model looking at latest macroeconomic forecasts where you can choose a specific country and see the latest forecasts, but also different dashboards that you can dive into. This is the economy section. And now a third major research area in our passport database is consumers. So you can learn everything about households, for example, household sizes, learning about, for example, single households, how many single households there are in a country, how many households with a specific number of children, how many households where the head of the household is female versus male. So a lot of, again, hundreds of indicators across all these different sections, and you always get analysis as well as statistics and also different visualization tools. We cover a lifestyle survey within our consumer lifestyle section, where you can dive specifically into the survey and look through all the different questions we've asked consumers across different markets. But again, there is a latest report section which would cover specific consumer profiles or megatrend reports, which also contain company case studies for a specific country. A fourth pillar is channels. So in channels, we do cover everything around retail, looking at offline retailing as well as online retailing, e-commerce. So you can assess the retail e-commerce landscape in Switzerland and compare with another country. And again, you get the major players, the competitors within retailing, as well as the market sizes and brand shares. So a lot to discover within the channel section as well. And lastly, you do have a sustainability free page. So we, of course, we are researching sustainability, and you have access to this, what we call a free page, which covers some broad topics around sustainability, giving you a little sample view of a product claims tracker, as well as some short case studies of how we have helped clients size the market of sustainability, for example, or also some broader articles. So this is more like a free page giving you some broader insights into sustainability topics, which can be very broad, of course. But you might be wondering, well, how do I now best search in Passport? For this, let me go back to the main landing page. Now, there are three major ways of how you can retrieve information in Passport. You could very simply use our keyword search at the top, and what that will do is search through all of Passport. Let's say we are interested in chocolate, maybe the chocolate confectionery market. What we can then simply do is type in chocolate, and it will search all of Passport, and it will show us relevant statistics such as market sizes, but also relevant analysis, for example, country reports. I'm just checking if everybody is on mute so we can hear everyone perfectly. So I've just muted everyone, but please unmute yourself if you have a question. So if you type in anything in the keyword search, it will search through all of Passport, and you can very quickly jump into relevant statistics. For example, if you look for chocolate in Switzerland, you get the different market sizes, company shares, brand shares, but you also get here the latest chocolate confectionery report, as well as any relevant local company profile. So here, for example, for Lindt, we would get a local company profile for Switzerland, and it will also pull any relevant visualization tools like the snacks dashboard or the forecast model. So this is a very quick way of accessing data in Passport. If you already know exactly what you're looking for, it might be a good place to start. Now, another way to search is by going into a specific homepage, like I did earlier. So we can go into food and nutrition, and in our case, snacks. If we're interested in, let's say, chocolate confectionery, we can go into the snacks homepage. And what that will allow us to do is search for everything related snacks. So we can very quickly visualize what is available in our snacks industry research, explore specific analysis, or explore a specific statistic. Or, of course, again, we can dive into dashboards. But this will keep us within the snacks industry. It will not necessarily be the best way of searching, because you might realize that there are other useful indicators, not just within snacks, but also within consumers and within economies, that you can use for your specific research project. So a third way of searching, now that we've looked at the keyword search at the top, which gives you a very quick way of accessing data, we do also have the homepage where you can dive into just a specific topic, whether that's an industry topic or a consumer section. But then a very systematic way of searching, if you want to combine indicators and if you want to combine specific countries, if you want to compare countries and combine indicators, the best way of searching is by going back to the main landing page in Passport and accessing our Search All Categories tab. What this will allow you to get is our full search tree in Passport. And you can select industries, economies, consumers, channels. It doesn't really matter which one you select, because it will get you to the same results page. So if I press go, it will give me the overview of all the different research areas in Passport, and I can very specifically select what I'm interested in. So it gives you a good idea of what's covered in Passport. You can dive into a very specific sector that you're interested in. So let's say we want to look into a market entry study. We want to understand the chocolate confectionery market for Switzerland, Germany, and maybe Italy. We want to understand which market is most attractive to enter based on the consumption, based on the forecast growth of the market, based on the competition. But we also want to understand not just the chocolate confectionery industry, but we also want to analyze the macro environment and consumer information, because all of this might impact a decision of a business to enter a market. They need to understand both the industry as well as the macro environment. So this is a very common case study at our business school clients. But of course, you could use it for any other study on a socioeconomic analysis or a specific competitor analysis. But let's focus on a market entry study. So for this, we select chocolate confectionery. So I scrolled down and I selected within snacks, chocolate confectionery. I could have also come to the same result if I had used this as a browser and simply select chocolate, and it will give me the result very easily and highlighted in orange. Now I press that little icon so that it will bring me back to the main search option. So I've selected chocolate, but now I also want to select an indicator from the macroeconomy. I want to select real GDP growth to assess the macro environment in those three countries. And as you can see, there are so many indicators available if I dive into any of those research modules. Here we have GDP, and the plus sign gives me more sub-levels. And here I have real GDP growth. You can also use the tree as a way to retrieve the definition. So if you're not sure what is covered in chocolate or what is covered by real GDP growth, what does that actually mean? You can very easily press the I for information and you will get the definition. Now I've selected real GDP growth. What I could also do is now jump into consumers because I want to learn a bit about disposable income. So here you can see we have income and expenditure. And again, if I press plus, I get the options of hundreds of different indicators related to income and expenditure. If I scroll down, I will eventually find disposable income and select this because, of course, it would be useful for me to understand if there's disposable income in those different markets and whether it's growing, which markets have a larger disposable income, because that can also give me an idea of will consumers in those markets have the disposable income available to purchase my product, in this case, chocolate confectionery. And then lastly, I want to select an indicator from channels, which I can do. So I want to learn about maybe e-commerce, if there's already a large market for e-commerce in those countries, because I might want to decide whether to distribute my product purely through e-commerce. So I can simply select either the top category, retail e-commerce, or I can be more specific and go into retail e-commerce by maybe product, and look into specifically foods e-commerce. So that will look at then the total sales of foods going through e-commerce in a specific market. But there's so much more to dive into. I really recommend you going into the search tree and familiarizing yourself with what's available in Passport. There are more than 100 million statistics and more than 20,000 reports, so it's worth exploring the tree. Now I've made a selection. What I can do now is I can go into select geographies. So here I can very systematically select any of the countries that are available to me through your school subscription. So I can, for example, go into Western Europe and I can see which countries are available to me to dive into. So we have here Germany, Italy, and Switzerland. I want to compare those three markets. And now I've made a selection and now I can go into search. I can click search at the top and it will give me the results list. What's really nice about the search tree is that it will give you now all the data and reports related to the categories and the geographies that you've selected. And it's all in one place. It not only gives me the market sizes, but it also gives me the analysis, so all the related country reports, as well as all the related visualization tools. Now, let's start with statistics. What are we getting? Because I've selected e-commerce and various other like chocolate confectionery indicator, I'm getting the market sizes statistics, but I'm also getting macroeconomic results. For our real GDP data, we can also look at quarterly data, not just annual data. And I'm getting the company shares based on their sales in the market. So I can both focus on retail e-commerce as well as chocolate confectionery and much, much more. The brand shares, the retail channels. And further down, you do find a very specific statistic called industry, economies, consumers. And this is the one that gives me all the indicators I've selected in one place. So if I jump into that and click View Full Data Set, it will give me the 3 countries that I've selected, and it will also give me the different indicators. So as you can see, the first country we are looking at is Germany, and the top category is chocolate confectionery market. So we're looking at the retail value sales, how much of chocolate is being consumed in retail value terms in Germany. We can compare this with Italy and with Switzerland. But of course, because we have so many other indicators in here, we want to make this a bit more digestible. So what we first need to do is, because we're looking at local currencies, let's convert this data first of all. So let's clean it up so we can compare. We can change the currency into, for example, euros or Swiss francs. Maybe for you, I'll just change this into Swiss francs. What we can now also do is convert the data into per capita. So because of course there are different population sizes, so it's not really easy to compare if we just look at the total consumption. So why don't we just look at per capita instead? Let's select per capita, and it will automatically change the view for us. And now what we can also do is we just select we changed the view and just focus, first of all, on chocolate confectionery. So here we can directly compare the consumption of chocolate confectionery. And we can see at the top we have Germany, followed by Italy and Switzerland. For 2023, we are looking at the consumption per capita of approximately 200 francs in Switzerland compared to 36 in Italy per capita versus 95 in Germany. So there's a big difference in consumption when we focus on retail value sales. So how much in retail value sales is consumed per capita in those 3 markets. Now we can also here directly compare the other indicators where we can look at disposable income. So we could see that, of course, there's a much higher disposable income in Switzerland compared to Italy and compared to Germany. So we are looking at 52.6 thousand Swiss francs versus 22,000 in Italy, for example. And then if we focus on foods e-commerce, so we can also compare the market for e-commerce, we are also seeing a very different picture. So we are seeing sales of 95 per capita, 95, approximately 100 francs in retail value sales versus 42 in Italy and 84 in Germany. So this is now focusing on retail value sales, so including the price. Now, if we just wanted to focus on volume consumption, maybe that gives us a different picture. So just to let you know, there are so many different options in our statistics view. Instead of looking at retail value, we can also look at the volume consumption. So how much volume of chocolate is consumed per capita. So let's press apply, and we are getting an additional data set. Again, let's focus on the category chocolate confectionery. So what we are seeing here as another line is the volume consumption. And this is now a very different picture. So we're actually seeing, although the retail value consumption per capita is lower in Germany, the actual volume consumption of chocolate is higher in Germany. So you can see we're looking at 8 kilograms per year per capita in Germany versus 7.9 kilos per capita in Switzerland, and only approximately 2 kilos in Italy. Now, of course, we could then also draw conclusions and add certain health indicators into our statistic if we wanted to look at, okay, is there a correlation, an indication of consumption of this with also the obesity rate or any other health factor. So what we could do is then modify our search and add another indicator, maybe from population, where we could look at health. So we could simply here add another indicator looking at consumers, population, where we have a lot of health data. So if we now wanted to draw any conclusion, we could look at, for example, obese population, or what else do we have? Diabetes prevalence, and simply apply, and it will automatically, it should add it to our data set. So here we have the diabetes prevalence, which would then enable us to simply make a comparison. But this now takes it a bit too far. The per capita isn't calculable. So what we need to do is convert it back to total, to the default, the actual prevalence. So that will give us now a different picture, and we could easily compare the countries and the prevalence of diabetes, where we actually see an interesting picture. It's very low in Switzerland compared to Italy and Germany. So just to let you know, there are many options in the way you can look at the data and the way you can adjust the data. I really recommend you using our statistics data set and just seeing what options are available to dissect this. So there's a lot that you can look at within a data set. Now, besides changing our data set into different currencies or per capita instead of total country consumption, what you can also do is jump into various other data sets here on the left-hand side. So you could, for example, dive into the company shares for chocolate confectionery in Germany, and you can do the same for Switzerland or Italy. You can look in the brand shares, you can go into the retail channels, and also for the other indicators like retail e-commerce. For this, we can also dive into very specific data sets. Now, if we want to, for example, analyze Switzerland more closely for chocolate confectionery and who are the main competitors in the market, we can simply jump into the company shares here. So let's jump into it so you get an idea of how this one looks like, this statistic. So here we have it, the overview of all the companies operating in Switzerland, offering products in chocolate confectionery. And we can clearly see that the leader is Lindt, unsurprisingly. That's the number one leader. We can see the percentage share of the market that they have. So we're looking at a 15% share of the market. So this initial statistic looks at the percentage breakdown, but you can also look at the actual sales, not just the percentage. So you can here again convert the data and jump into actuals, and it will recalculate it for you, and it will give you the actual sales in Swiss francs. So we can see what are their actual sales, how has this changed over time. We can see, for example, an increase in sales for Lindt going up from, we're looking at 227 million in 2018, going up to 274 million. But we can see a decline when we look at Nestle. So we can see the opposite development for Nestle if we look at this time frame. Of course, you can also change the time frame. You can go back to 2014 in this case and simply press apply if you want to have a different view. All of this is extractable into Excel. So all of our data sets, whether you are in our market sizes or in our brand shares, you can always extract this into Excel and then work with it to run a competitor analysis if you like, for example. So this is possible. Now, if I go back to, let me go back to the main overview, and please, you can ask me any questions, or you can leave your questions for later on, no problem. Let me go back to the search results page, because that helps you to also understand how to best jump into all these statistics. So you can jump into the individual ones and extract them into Excel. You could have also looked at real GDP growth and changed the time series going back to 1977 and looking at the next years of forecast. So a lot of different data sets are available. Now, you can also jump into analysis, which gives you a better idea of the challenges and opportunities within a market. And because we've selected indicators from across the different research systems, we're getting different results. So we have, for example, the income and expenditure report for all the different countries. We're getting a pest analysis. And if I scroll down, I want to look into Switzerland. So let's have a look into the chocolate confectionery report, for example. And what this report allows us to understand is, why are we seeing those trends that we've just looked at in our statistic? So it gives you a really good understanding of the industry landscape in Switzerland in this case. And all the reports look like this, where for the industry, you get a written analysis on the left-hand side, going into what's important in this market, what are the developments, why is Lind the leader, for example, is private label gaining traction. But on the right-hand side, you do get other interesting visualizations. You're getting the data graphics, which you can also export into presentations. So we earlier looked at the statistics, the sales of chocolate, but here you're getting the visualization of those sales that we've looked at. And you're also getting the company shares at the bottom in a really nice visual way. But again, you could just change this view and look at it in a table view, or jump directly from the report back into the statistics. We would also discuss if sustainability is relevant within Switzerland and chocolate. We would discuss this in the report. And this type of report you get for all the different sectors, whether it's the beauty sector, whether it's the consumer appliances sector. We have packaging reports. So for all the different industries, you're getting these types of up-to-date country reports. And there are more tabs within each. So, there is a context tab, or where you're looking at where you can compare the sector regionally, or you can also look at any other related report for Switzerland. That would be nice to compare it with the chocolate confectionery sector in our case. Let me go back to the results page. So this is the way a country report for a specific industry looks like, but of course there's so much more. There are the different economies and the consumers reports, a pest analysis. If I jump into that, you will see it looks at the challenges and opportunities with regards to the political, economic, technological, and social environment. It gives a lot of detail about these different areas. But again, with all of our reports, you get the written analysis, but you also do get the statistics. So we could directly jump back into the statistics view or any other related items. Because this is a pest analysis for Germany, we could now jump into a business dynamics report for Germany, a households report, and much, much more. So you can get really lost in Passport and retrieve lots of hopefully useful information. The way to download is, it's always possible to download our reports and our statistics. So here we have the download tab, PDF, and it will extract it automatically for you. Let's go back to the results page. Another data type that I wanted to show you. So we've looked at the statistics, we've looked at some analysis that you can retrieve. But besides that, we also have dashboards. Now these dashboards, they take all of our data and make it all more easily to comprehend in a visual way for you. For each of the industries that we have in Passport, you can dive into such a dashboard. But also for macroeconomy, you could look at, for example, all the global macro environment and the developments. The way to use this dashboard is you can essentially look at which countries are covered in your school subscription. So all the blue colored ones are the ones that are covered. And the darker the blue always refers to the larger the market. And in this case, we're looking at snacks and we're looking at market size, so consumption in retail value terms. The opportunity you have here is also to change the category. Instead of looking at the global snacks industry, you can go into what we looked at earlier, just chocolate confectionery, if that's what we are interested in, and press apply, and it will change the view. We could also dive into a region. So we can go into, for example, Europe, and you can see all the countries that you could dive into more detailed in your subscription. And you can hover over a country like Switzerland and then simply explore Switzerland in detail. So this is also a nice way if you wanna before you go into the statistics and analysis, you can first look at regional trends, look at how does Switzerland more broadly compare with Western Europe or the rest of the world, which are the top 3 companies in Switzerland. So this is a very quick first way of, understanding the sector within a specific country, region, and globally. And all of this is also extractable into PowerPoint or PDF. You could further, instead of looking at the map view, you could look at bar chart. So here we could get very quickly the ranking based on total consumption. So we have the US number 1, Russia number 2, UK number 3. But if we look at, for example, per capita, it gives us a different view. So in terms of per capita consumption, Switzerland out of the 25 is the number 1, consumes the most from a retail value perspective. Number 2, UK. Number 3, Germany. Or you can change this and look at forecast growth. And now we see where do we have the strongest growth predictions for the next 5 years. And we have Nigeria, number 1, followed by Saudi Arabia and Brazil. So you could analyze those countries also in depth in your subscription. Another way to look at the data in a dashboard is you can take a company view. So what this does now is it looks at all the globally operating companies within this specific sector, in our case, chocolate. So we see the initial suggestion is Mars, the company Mars, and we can see in which countries are they present, and the darker the blue means the larger their market share. We can also change the company and look at any other globally operating company like Lindt and Presco. Here we have Lindt's company shares across the countries that you can dive into. And again, we could look at the bar chart to rank all the countries. So Lindt has the largest share in Switzerland, followed by Italy, and then France. And lastly, we can take a channel view where we would look at where do people purchase in those countries chocolate, through which retail channels. Is that through offline retailing supermarkets or is it through e-commerce? So we could compare retail e-commerce with retail offline. So if we look at retail e-commerce and press go, it will show us those countries that already have a large consumption through retail e-commerce, like the US, like China. And you can do this for any other sector. So you can, change the dashboard, go into the beauty and personal care one, go into the cooking ingredients dashboard. And besides the dashboard, you of course get the country reports and the statistics for each. So there's a lot to discover. Let me just refresh and summarize what did I do? How did I get to all these results? So the way I did it was I go back to the main landing page. The best way to conduct a systematic search and combine indicators and compare is by going into the search or categories tree. So I can simply select industries or economies, consumers, channels. It doesn't really matter because it all brings me to the same results page. It gives me the whole overview of all the categories. So this is how I jumped into the search tree. I've made a selection of indicators. I then jumped into geographies. I clicked search and I got the statistics, the analysis, and the dashboards. Now, in addition to that, once you've done your search through the search tree and, for any type of project, whether it's a macroeconomic project, a company project, or an industry project, you can use this tree. Now, if you wanted to still further check anything relevant, you can, of course, use the keyword search to just double check that you haven't missed anything. So what you could also do is, for example, if you just want to purely analyze Switzerland in depth and see what is available in Passport just for Switzerland, but across all research systems, a quick way to visualize everything for Switzerland is to just type it in the keyword search and then click view all results and then filter. So if you want to start your search not from a industry perspective or a macro topic or a consumer topic perspective, if it's just focused on a country and you just want to analyze all kinds of areas, you can type in the country in the keyword search and it will give you everything, in this case on Switzerland, and it is ranked by publication date, and you can go into statistics, um, as well as analysis, as well as dashboards. But you would then, of course, you would have to do a bit of a filter because you have otherwise too much in your data set and too much in your report section. So what you can do here is simply you could look at a specific category for Switzerland and it will then filter. Or you could, for example, if you want to look at macroeconomic data for Switzerland, you can jump into this data set. You can also look at monthly data for some indicators. So let me see if that works, if I jump into it. And it will just give me all of the monthly data for Switzerland. So this is a way you can simply search for everything around a specific country. So here we have various indicators that we provide on a monthly basis. And you could adjust the time frame the way you like it, and then simply extract it into Excel. So a lot to discover. Now there is just one area that I need to highlight separately, which is not visible in our search tree that we looked at earlier. And this area that's not visible in the search tree is called lifestyles. So the way you would be able to retrieve lifestyle information is by either, typing in relevant terms in our keyword search or by directly going into the lifestyle section. Here is where you can find mega trend reports, reports about consumer preferences, reports about consumer lifestyles and attitudes. So you would have to dive into this specifically and jump into an analysis, a country report, specific country. Unfortunately, Switzerland is not covered within lifestyles because it's based on a different methodology. It's based on survey data, not on the ground store checks and trade interviews. So for our surveys, we currently cover 40 countries globally, which you can find here. These are major economies, not currently Switzerland, but I really recommend this if you do any study on any of the other countries like Germany, US, France, or Italy, and it will give you a lot of insightful megatrend reports that could be useful, including company case studies. So this is the consumer lifestyle section. And if you need any further help in navigating in Passport or finding out about definitions, about our research methodology, the best place to find all of this is our help section at the top. So this is normally where I would go into if I get a question and I don't know the answer, because it will normally give me always an answer. So the help guide and video section covers all the different help areas from definitions to brief help videos, as well as here the very useful frequently asked questions section, where you can learn about what is retail value sales, what is constant versus current, and much, much more. So you'll find a lot of answers within this section. But now I've talked a lot. I thought it's best now if I open up the floor for questions. Should you have any, you can either write them in the chat or you can unmute yourself and simply ask me your question. Any question from anyone?
Hello. Thank you for your
Hello.
presentation. I arrived a bit late, so I'm not sure if you talked about it in the beginning. I watched the replay, but did you talk about like service-based industry as well?
So I didn't go, thank you for this question. I didn't go specifically into service-based industries, but it is covered. So I made just one example of chocolate, but of course you have 26 different sectors available within your school subscription, and there is the services section. So within services, you can dive into travel sector, looking at hotels, at lodging, at airlines, at tourism flows, for example. We have consumer food service looking at restaurants, bars, juice bars, for example, and consumer finance. So if we make the example of consumer food service, you can dive into cafe bars, limited service restaurants, chained ones, yeah, and a lot of different options. And again, you get statistics, company shares, market sizes, as well as, of course, country reports and dashboards. Is that what you were looking for?
Yes, more or less. It's more specifically, I was looking for IT services, I guess. So more B2B than B2C.
Ah, okay. So that would be because the focus on all of these industries is B2C, whereas there's just the one packaging option, which is B2B, focusing on, the types of packaging used, the sales of different types of packaging across different markets. But when it comes to IT services, that is part of a different separate module which we offer, which is called industrial, that focuses on B2B, on production, suppliers and buyer sectors. But the core of the academic subscription that you have is on B2C.
I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome. But in any case, if you are not sure whether we cover something, if you go into the tree, and it's also accessible from any other page, in the tree, if you type in, for example, service, any term or any synonym, you could double check, is there anything in here? So if I type in just service, for example, I would see, okay, we have food service, consumer finance, we have all these different areas. For example, within business dynamics, okay, some of this is not relevant, but it would simply then browse through all of the indicators and maybe there is something that could be interesting and that could help you. So always recommending the search tree and typing in one term, maybe limit it to a short version of what you're looking for, because otherwise it might miss certain indicators that we have available. So it's always good to check the version of what you're looking for, putting the term in, and maybe also putting a synonym in, because it might be that it's called differently in Passport than how you would call it. I hope that makes sense.
It does. It does.
Any,
Thank you for the
yeah,
tips. I'll give it a go.
thank you. Any other question? No other question? Yeah, you can, of course, also later on, if you start doing your searching and you have a question, or maybe you're looking for something and you're not sure where to look for it, or you are not sure whether not getting any results means that there are no results, or that you've maybe didn't search correctly. So if you just want to double check if something's available in Passport, you can always click contact us at the very top and then simply send a message and it will come to my inbox. And I'm very happy to help with this. So here it would be directed automatically to my inbox and I'll do the checks for you if you just want to make sure you've done it correctly. So I can help out.
Great. Thanks a lot, Marieke. Is there any other question? I hope this helped. I think so.
Thank you very much. And yeah, if you would like any support in the future, don't hesitate to contact me.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very
and
much.
You can also